Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to go over our commodity technical analysis update. We'll get through here. I'm just kind of did a quick view of everything. Looks pretty good across the board. Usually that's what you see. You see everything kind of up, everything down, all in the same days. But what we want to see is our investments going up faster or greater than the other sectors. That's where we're getting our purchasing power gains. So we're going to go through some market conditions, go through the commodities and precious metals areas, and I'll give you my financial opinion. If you guys need help basically forging through this market, you can sign up for the Platinum membership over here, finding-value.com. That's the membership that we have, where I go and do question and answer sessions. I've got lots of financial education. I go into market conditions, ratios, all those things. I share my portfolio. I even share what I'm doing real time. So that's the value of it. And we'll dive in here, show you guys what's going on. This is the DXY US dollar index. You've heard me talk about this before. I was waiting for the dollar index, the DXY, to turn and go down. Well, we've got that turn. What happened here is we've got this long, strong resistance support line. I drew it through here. It could even be a little bit lower than this, depending on how you draw it in there. It could be anywhere in this general vicinity there, depending on which guys you want to hit in your support resistance levels. If you zoom in, we basically hit through this guy and we're blowing to the downside. The resistance levels anywhere in this general area. And this is providing a tailwind behind our investments, which is what we want. We want a DXY to go down. We want a weaker dollar. We want the emerging markets to do better. We want all of those non-dollar denominated assets to do well because remember, commodities are priced in dollars. And a weaker dollar in relationship to other things gives us a little bit more options, gives less options, less dollar denominated options for investments for people looking for investments because they're going to pull their money out of dollar denominated assets. Like potentially the stock market may not be as strong as some other areas, although it's strong today. I'm just saying longer term, we usually see a weaker dollar with a commodity bull market, usually the second half of it. The 10-year yield is dropping some. We have the momentum basically sideways today, but we had a little bit weaker 10-year yield and we had a little bit weaker TYX, which is less than TNX. And I'll go into why I think that's important. TLT, which is bond prices. Bond prices were also slightly weaker on the 20-year. Kind of a weird scenario there with weaker yields and a little bit weaker bond price. TYX to TNX is going on up. What that means is that the curve is flattening a little bit. Or I should say, yeah, it's uninverting. Put it that way, uninverting. Usually when it uninverts and kind of normalizes, that's when gold does very well. Precious metals do very well when this uninverts. And when we look at history, we are at a very critical low area where it's advantageous to basically load up on precious metals at these vicinities, these areas that I found. So this indicator here with the 30-year and the 10-year is signaling that we should be looking at precious metals at this time. It's a good time to look. Commodities with that lower dollar acting as a tailwind, we're coming off and bouncing off that long-term support line. There it is on a big picture view. There's our up candlestick or month. This month on the weeklies, it's a nice strong week that we've got going for us. Monday and Tuesday is killing it. And then on the dailies, it looks strong. As we're finishing strong, it looks really strong here for a potential move higher. That weaker dollar will be a tailwind behind our commodities. Gold looking pretty good. We're getting some life back into it. Its legs are getting underneath it. I think what it's doing is it's sniffing out that we're going to have to print some money. Print some moolah, baby. So gold's going higher. The inflation quantitative easing may be coming out about. I think this was all triggered by the gilts. Bonds gilts they had to loosen up their idea or their tightening because their bond market was crashing. So they had to buy bonds. They did quantitative easing. Usually when one does quantitative easing, they all do quantitative easing, and they all kind of work in sync, all these central banks. So I think that's kind of what it's pricing in. Silver also doing quite well today, up 1.7% and above support. And then we got my boy Platinum. Platinum laying down a 4% up day, looking quite good. Again, from a long-term perspective, this looks good to potentially put in a launch. What is it? What do I mean by that? And if I squeeze it up on the closing points, we're basically launching now. I think that Platinum could very well launch here. We had a nice, good lead-in pattern here before a launch. That's our lead-in pattern here before the launch. So Platinum is my favorite metal at this time. I also like silver quite a bit. I own both in copious amounts. And those are the areas that I think look very good with a very good risk-reward profile. Very low risk in the physical metals, very good rewards for the risk that you're taking. Looking at SILJ, or I should go XAU to gold ratio. XAU to gold ratio is heading higher today. What this means is that the gold mining companies are outperforming gold itself a little bit, which is good. Looking at SILJ also heading a little bit higher. Not a super strong finish day. Nonetheless, it's still up with sideways momentum. GDX also higher today. We're bouncing off all these support levels. Like I said, support's underneath us. Look at all this support, all this. And when I say support, it's how often this stock is traded in this general vicinity and how many shares have exchanged hands. And that's basically our support level. I like buying off support levels, and then we hopefully have the market conditions to turn and move on up. Think of that yield curve that I was talking about, TYX divided by TNX, and how that's favorable at this time. It doesn't mean that it will rocket go to the moon right off the bat. You have to be patient. And as you are more involved and as you get involved with the website and this channel, you're going to find that you have to be patient. You accumulate in certain areas. You could accumulate for months or maybe even a year or two, and then you start getting that big move. That's how the game is played. The time frames have to be a little bit different than swiping left or right on if you want to date some girl or not. It just doesn't move that fast. Looking at crude oil very strong today, breaking out. This looks incredibly good. I am an ultra crude oil, natural gas bull right now. Ultra. I've never been more bullish on energy in my life that I've watched the markets than now. And that deals with problems over in Europe, the Russia cutting natural gas. We also have natural gas and oil substitution. We have a very tight market in oil. We have barrels coming out of the market in oil. We've got demand coming back. We have all these problems from the medical event and supply chains and all sorts of stuff. I think oil is going much higher. And hopefully I put enough muches in there. Natural gas is also one that I am incredibly bullish on. I think we're getting pretty low here, guys. I'm nibbling. I can't stop myself. And I'm nibbling on companies. I have been. And if you've been part of the website, you know what companies those are. I've been buying it up. And I gave you guys a good opportunity, a good headway of a couple days heads up, which is good. XOP, yeah, you know me, it is rocketing. Boom, 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 rocketing higher. Is this going to come back? I don't know. I don't play the short-term moves. What I try to do is get my entry points. Get my entry points and hold on. And we've got a lot of really good moves in a lot of these markets. This is Energy Service Company, OIH, heading higher. If I back out, guys, this is so cheap. This is going to go way higher. I am an ultra bull on energy services. I'm an ultra bull on the exploration production companies. Again, if you want to know the companies that I'm playing, you can. I'm choosing my companies by looking at the fractals. The fractals are the size of these moves, and I'm looking at the fractal sizes of individual companies, and then I look at their balance sheets, the fundamentals. I think that some of these are going to turn, and they're going to turn and make a lot of money. That's exploration, production, and the service companies. The free cash flow values are absolutely ridiculous in oil and natural gas. Scrolling on down, looking at uranium. Uranium is still looking good. We are moving sideways. I know you can't see that one there, but here's the weeklies. And let me get this out of here real quick. What you want to see here, and what you usually see, is a pullback, and then you get into this consolidation zone where it tightens up. You break out, you do a retest move, and then you look for the launch. Right now, we are pre-launch, and I'm looking for that launch in the futures pricing. And usually what you see before a launch in the futures pricing is a move in the underlying stocks. So when we look at the stocks, we're moving higher in the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. This is what's buying physical. We are above a key support level, which is this upper white line. And we are below a long-term resistance line. That's that big guy going across here. So you've got your channel here, and we're below the big resistance line. We want to break this resistance line, close above it, and then move on up into the promised land. The promised land where your account will just start adding zeros. We're not there yet, but we've got some good momentum. We're coming at it. We're gonna have to go at it, and we want to close above 1815, get up there and stay up there and get some momentum on up. We failed here to stay above it. We came back to rest a little bit, and now we're taking a run at it again. URNM, nice strong day today, up 4.38%. And I don't really care so much about the percentage. I care about where it closes. I want to see a nice, strong finish. And if you were to look at this on a 5-day candlestick, it looks really, really good. So if we were to do this on a short term, if you guys are trading short term, you'd say this is kind of well, it's more like this, I should say. We've broken this downtrend, step one, right? We've come on and did a pullback. So step one's break the downtrend. Step two is make a higher low. Step three is make a higher high. We are now in an uptrend. And this is on the very short term. So if we look back, we are now reverse this downtrend. We are going into an uptrend. We're in a newly established uptrend for uranium in URNM. We're seeing people position in URNM. I am guessing that the next step is we're going to see the futures prices start to take off. Then the laggard people, the retail sector, will see the futures pricing taking off. They're going to see URNM taking off, and they're all going to chase. That's at least what my guess would be of what's next. CCJ up a little bit today. We have a little bit of momentum loss throughout the day, but we're still looking all right. We are below this long-term resistance line we got to break. That's the guy we want to break. We want to hold above that, $32, close above it. That's what we want. This guy's got a lot of momentum coming up into it, so we'll see if we can break. If we break, I think we'll see a big move out of CCJ when we get through and above this sticky area through here. So that's uranium, and uranium's got a mixed bag depending what companies you're looking at. Going towards the Invesco Solar ETF. Now, I've been talking about this ETF for a while. I said I like the way it looks. I can like something for a long time. The left side looks like the right side cut it in half. This side looks like this side just mirrored over. Now, if that's a mirror, what happened in the fall? Not much resistance. We could go up to here pretty easily. That's what we're looking at from the way of a stock falling and the resistance support levels. Now, this looks fantastic. We've broken the downtrend line. We zoom in on it, and we've done a retest move. This is where I buy, and now we're starting to head higher. So that looks really good for solar. Solar has a little bit more government reliance. They don't have the cash flows like oil and natural gas companies. So this is a lot more speculative. I don't put as much money in it myself. So that's solar there. Looking at COPX, COPX is also doing quite well. We're getting that follow through on the move. We've kind of broken that downtrend line. It's looking pretty good. Now, doesn't mean that this is just going to go rocketing higher, straight higher, but it's looking solid. Looking at the CRB to S&P 500, that is down a little bit. Looks like the overall markets did very well. And I think this will continue to work its way higher over time. Doesn't mean in the short term that we can't both go up together and have kind of a merrily way when everything goes up. But when the times are tough, this has been outperforming the S&P 500. And I think that will continue in the future. Rare earth metals rocketing higher. I like it down here a lot. You could throw a rock at some of these rare earths. We're bouncing off support. Looks really good. I like it a lot. Lithium also bouncing off support. This looks quite pretty good. Looks like we're starting to kind of get in here and eventually work our way higher. We'll probably put in some sort of wedge shape pattern and then start to rocket launch higher. So that's looking good. The S&P 500, it is getting a bounce. Now, is this a bottom where we're just going to rocket on up and the whole market's going to turn? We're going to do quantitative easing reverse our quantitative tightening. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. We're getting a bounce. Is this a short-term thing? That's kind of my guess, is we're still in this channel and it's just a short-term bounce. I think that the headwinds ahead of us are still great. And then we got the NASDAQ also bouncing higher. It's got some follow through, finishing strong. Short term looks good. Longer term, I don't think it's going to do as well. That's just my take on it. EEM also rocketing higher, that weaker dollar providing a tailwind behind EEM. Would I jump on the EEM train? Probably not. I'd probably just jump into my commodities. But emerging markets is bouncing and it looks a lot better than what it did before. XHB rocketing higher. I think that people think that there could be quantitative easing, some sort of loosening on interest rates. I'm not calling for that, but the market may think that, and that's why we could be bouncing here. That's why we're seeing the yields, the bond market yields, start to come down. And stocks like lower yields. So that's what we look like for XHB. Looks quite good. We've broken the downtrend. We are still sitting quite high above its support area at $48 or so. Lumber's tightening up here. We're getting some buying pressure. Looks like we're trying to put in a bottom and round it out. We've got cocoa futures are remaining resilient. I think this looks good for a higher move. We've got support underneath us. We've broken the downtrend. Everything looks good. We've got wheat slightly lower. Tough to say here what the heck it wants to do. I do see a little bit of kind of tightening like this. Sometimes those want to break out and move down in the short term before moving higher. We've got soybeans. Again, this looks good to go lower, not higher, as we have not broken out of this support trend line. We've broken out. We've got a large red candlestick with small up movements. The sellers are dominating the buyers, and I think that we could continue a little bit lower before heading on up. Corn futures moving sideways. I don't really see a clear, distinct trend here. It's mainly just a sideways chopping action. This is good. Copper moving higher like this is good. We're in the middle of this chopping zone. I want to close above 375 and move this on up and get us moving higher with a little bit more inflatione. Is what I'm going to call it. Moo also moving higher. Looks good. Nice strong finish there. We had our bullish engulfing there, the two small down days, which is the finding value slingshot cheetah pattern sometimes. So what you want to do is you want to look for these bullish engulfings, and they can move a couple days after, and then you slingshot higher. We saw that across the board. This was a fake out to make it, though. That's a fake out there, broke down. But at least we got another one. So statistical probability wise, that's what we look for. Looking at aluminum. Aluminum making and shaking a big move higher today. Up 6%, breaking and using this as support. I know everybody was saying, oh, it's breaking down. Well, not necessarily. The support zone isn't just a line, it's a band. So keep that in mind. Support zones, they can kind of fling around it a little bit, but we're heading higher today, up 6%. Looks quite good for a lot of the companies. Moving on down to Baltic Dry Index. Baltic Dry Index also moving a little bit higher. It's right at that long-term resistance support zone that we want to break and move on higher. And this does look like we're trying to put in some sort of bottom here. It's trying. and we got to break above that resistance area, and then hopefully we can go to the promised land, and these guys will do crazy things. So that's what I've got for today, guys. And, everything's looking quite good in the short term here. Is it going to continue? Well, we finished strong. If the dollar continues lower and yields kind of just calm down, I think we'll do good. I think we're going on up. Oil's looking very good. We've broken a downtrend there. Natural gas looks like it's trying to turn around, so that looks really good. Uranium finished quite strong. That's looking good. We've seen really good bounces off support levels of copper, rare earths, of agricultural companies. Everything's looking quite good. So we finished strong. My take on it is it's probably going to continue until we see a reversal candlestick or a reversal in the markets. But with a strong finish today, everything looks good. So give me a thumbs up for the content. If you guys like the content, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website over there, Platinum membership if you'd like, and we'll keep it moving. So we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.